One is on the call. Is Ahmed Alfawaz on the call? If you're on the call, just please say hi.
I'm currently reaching out to him. I don't know why he's not yet on the call.
Okay, he's not yet on the call. Okay, let's just move on to I'm trying to check which of the speakers is on the call. Valentino Ubala. A little about Valentino. Um, Valentino is a software engineer. He has experience mostly in front-end development and building mobile application. So he also co-organizes Front-End Weekly and is a senior mentor at Spain. But I'll leave the introduction to Valentino. Valentino, could you please give us a short intro and tell us a bit about yourself and what you do?
Speak now, Valentino.
Hey everyone, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me properly?
Yeah, good
Yes.
afternoon.
Okay, awesome. So my name is Valentino Bala. I'm a software engineer at Headliner. At Headliner, we have a platform that enables people to enable artists to organize online concerts for people to watch. I also organize Front End Weekly, where we get to talk about it's a not so weekly thing because we don't do it every week. We get to talk about things about front end, right? That we as front end developers face. And I'm currently also a senior mentor at NWA, which is a non-profit that helps provide mentorship to engineers. So that's pretty much about me.
Yeah, that's a very interesting, Valentino. Thank you for that short introduction.
No
So
problem.
I'd like to ask when what was it like getting your first job? When exactly was it not an L in quotes for you when you moved from receiving rejection emails to a congratulations, you've gotten hired?
Okay. I think it was more or less like a journey. I don't know if I could talk about it in length, or do you want like a specific answer?
Yeah, we really do not have enough, and I would have loved you to go in length, but just something short and precise would be fine.
Well, I think. Sorry, could you just repeat the question again? Let me just confirm so I can structure my answer well.
Okay, the question was when was it not an L, and what was it like getting your first job?
Yeah. So actually, the thing is, just before I got my first job, I faced a major rejection from a top fintech company abroad. I even like traveled to Ghana for their like final interview and everything, and I actually thought that I would get in. So that period I was like really depressed. Yeah. But later on I was able to pick myself up, and the funny thing was, it moved from a point where I couldn't really see any job to a point where I had multiple job offers, right? And yeah, so it was pretty cool because you would see me that okay, I was at this point where man, I didn't know if I was in the right path. I felt like as if I wasn't doing this coding thing properly. Then just a couple of months later, you see me trying to think, should I go to this company or should I go to this company? Which of them will I grow more? Which of them has more money? So I would say it was a very great experience, but yeah, it was actually cool. Yeah, but I can't. There's no way I won't talk about. I can't. I can talk about the success story without talking about like the sweat and all the depression and everything that happened prior to it. Yeah.
Okay. So you made mention of moving from getting rejections to moving to getting multiple job offers. So what changed within that period? What made was it that you restructured your portfolio, or what was the thing you did differently that made you stop getting rejection emails and made you start receiving multiple job offers?
Okay. So first of all, what I had to do was I had to make a resolve. Yeah. Because I was depressed, and but guys were around to like motivate me and tell me it's not the end of the world. Yeah, you can still apply for more stuff. So I made a resolve, and I had this mantra that I wanted to be so good that companies won't hesitate to employ me, right? That I would have to be that good. And I went back to my drawing table. I had to make a plan. I was like, okay, what are my excesses? What do I need to do to get to where I want to be? So the first thing I did was at that point in time, I was more like a full stack dev. I did front end and back end. I knew that it would be I would have higher offer, I would have higher chances of getting a job if I specialize in one of them. Right. So when you become like really good at one of them, then you have higher chances of getting roles there than being a generalist. So at that point, I decided to go with front end because I felt front end was it resonated more with me. Then I started 100 days of code. I didn't finish the 100 days of code, like probably just did like first 30 days. But I learned a lot. Like I boosted because I had to go back to the basic fundamentals. I had to make sure that I cleaned up all the parts that I felt were missing. So I was going rebuilding stuff with CSS, redoing Java. I already knew this, but it was at that point I now started seeing some things, some gaps in my knowledge. After doing that, I talked to mentors, some mentors that I look up to. Some Ohans Emmanuel and Babs Craig. And they were there, they were always there to give me advice. Ohans Emmanuel, for example, recommended a book to me. The name of the book is Peak. Sorry, let me just quickly get the name here. The name of the book is Peak, the secret from the new science of expertise by Eric Anderson. And basically, what I picked from there was I got to understand the concept of deliberate learning. Probably if I had more time, I'll explain what it means, but I apply that concept into learning stuff. I make sure that every single time I'm learning, it's not like I'm just doing the same UI stuff every time. I'm converting UI pages. Each time I'm learning stuff, I know that I'm trying to work on a particular aspect. Then I also like that was the period I was also active in communities, which is very important. My first job, the art came from the community post, the Developer Secretariat Nigeria. At that point, I was like a moderator there. So I was active in community. I was doing front end weekly. Front end weekly, I was coming to give out videos and just giving out videos with some. I was doing with some top engineers at Andela. It wasn't so easy. It felt easy because okay, I was talking about things I knew, but the fact that you're explaining it to people, it becomes different because you don't want to go and talk spoil. You need to be sure of the things you're saying. So I had to like most times I had to go and do research, prepare slides. So all of this, one way or the other, helped me. These were the things that I feel contributed to uh, my growth. Yeah, so like communities exactly, not just even on Twitter and Facebook, WhatsApp. Like there was this, JavaScripters group, Python, all these groups. You get to see guys that are like you, who are like really good. You could always ask them questions, and they are always really. You see, like you ask a question, you see like 20 people answering you. Yeah, so like it's even when you're depressed, it's a source of motivation. I believe all these things worked hand in hand in getting me to that point where I had offers to pick from.
So that's pretty much so that's pretty much interesting and really fascinating, Valentino. You like changed a lot of stuff, changed your approach to learning, changed your approach to applying for jobs, got involved in communities, and all of that. So that's pretty much very interesting. So thanks a lot for that, Valentino. It was very insightful. If you have questions, please drop your questions in the comment section and I'll try to attend to them or get speakers to answer those questions. So for example, if you have a question directed to Valentino, indicate in the chat section that the question is directed to him and I'll tell him when he could answer the question and attend to each and every question. So not to waste too much of our time, let us go to the next person. I think Fawaz is now on the call. Fawaz, if you are available to speak now, or if you can hear me, could you please?
Yeah, good morning.
Okay, so yeah, good morning, Faraz. So a little about Faraz. Um, Faraz is a front-end engineer and he has a strong passion for learning and innovation. So he has worked for a number of companies over the past 5 years, including Young Comsoft, Buffersoft, Trilogy, the one we know as Crossover, one pipe, and currently works as a software engineer for Deimos. So he loves watching animes and Japanese movies when he's not coding. So for us, could you just briefly that's just like a brief introduction to who Faraz is. So Faraz, could you just tell us a bit more about yourself?
Well, that's like most of it though, but I think I need to correct some. I'm not a
Okay.
front-end engineer. No, I'm not a front-end engineer.
Oh, I said
Um,
software
uh,
engineer.
oh, software. Oh, sorry. I thought I had front-end. Okay, okay.
Oh yeah, I said
So
software engineer.
uh, although I'm actually currently working as a full stack engineer at Demos, but I'm stronger on the back end still. So yeah, uh, I've actually worked at a few companies. Those is listed, yeah, and IDH as well, and IT. So yeah, I think there's not already said bits.
All right. So for us,
Yeah,
when
now.
did you get your first job?
Hmm.
So when did you
Okay.
get your first job?
So I got my first job in October 2015
And
at East Thompson.
what? Okay, at Uscomsoft. And what did you do? What was your role at Uscomsoft?
A software Thompson.
Yeah. So what was the job search like? Before you finally got a job at Uscomsoft, you've been on the search for a job for how long? And what exactly did you do differently that landed you that job at Uscomsoft?
Yeah. Well, I think my story is actually kind of unconventional. Like it's not similar to many others. So the way I got my first job is something that many won't experience because it was more like someone taking a bet on that will get skilled enough to uh tasks with returns fast. The time when I got, I wasn't uh highly skilled. Like I wasn't. I think I only knew some basics. I could only do a few things. I wasn't good enough to get a junior developer position at uh, any company. I mean, any conventional company. So this was just someone that saw my zeal and could estimate maybe my learning speed. Okay, this person is still a good addition to the team, even though he's not quite at the level that uh, most junior developers will join at yet. So I did not actually search much, and I don't know how long actually. So, but I actually got it because of my network. So, and actually, in for all the jobs I've gotten, including demos, were largely because of my. The only job that wasn't was Trilogy crossover. So, that one, their recruitment process is actually largely data driven. So, it doesn't matter if you're connected. But for every other one I've gotten, actually because I was connected. So for me, I think what's most important apart from building up your skills is building up your network because it should actually go apart from even normal jobs. It's actually helped for uh freelance jobs as well because there were times within when I got my first job and other jobs that I wasn't actually right for a company. So in those times doing freelance work. And what still helped me then was my network. So it's super important, I think, to network, expand your network. One other thing is structured learning. So many beginners without support just keep jumping between things that they're learning, so they don't actually have a focus on one thing. So one thing that helps a lot, especially when you're looking for a first job, is structuring your learning. It helps to like take courses online or uh, take books on specific topics and read them to the end. I remember, I think was it in 2017 or 2016 when Anedi came to FNAB, and he mentioned something too. Then he said, "Get a good, so just one good book, rather than just reading different things from here and different things from there, learning in an unstructured manner. It actually helps to like pick up good resource and study it thoroughly. The level you're going to get by the time you complete studying that course or book or whatever resource it is actually, I mean, you'd have spent your time better than if you had just kept jumping between stuff in an unstructured manner. So that's one other thing I think helped. Okay.
Thanks a lot for that for us. I think there's this saying that goes thus your network is your net worth. So I think that really worked for you. Having people who could vouch for your skills around and getting to meet people who could actually make impact, which could actually make impactful recommendations to your career and structuring your think that same thing was one of the things Valentino did as well, which
Yeah,
was
yeah.
yeah, which was really cool. So thanks a lot for us. Really appreciate your time. I would like to move to the next person, which is Munirat Suleiman. Could you please say hi, Munirat, if you're on the call? Munirat, could you say hi if you can hear me?
I think you can speak
I
Munerat.
think you can speak Munira.
Um, okay. So if while we wait for Munirat, I think we might want to move to someone else. Adere Sola Oluwafemi. Can you hear me? Adere Sola Oluwafemi, can you hear me? Can you please say hi if you can hear me?
You should,
You should be able to speak as well.
okay.
Okay.
Adere Sola, if
She's
you
on the
can hear
call.
me, I think you need to
She's on the call.
okay. Emeka Boris, can you hear me? Emeka, could you please say hi if you can hear me?
She can
You can
speak.
hear me now,
You
right?
can speak.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
super great.
Emeka, can you hear me?
Yes, very well. Okay, so since you get my turn, do I need to start? Oh, this is better. This is audio. Super
Oh, hi Emeka.
video. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Emeka. How are you doing today?
I'm good, and you?
Having a nice time.
Yeah, I was actually
So,
thinking it's gonna
just
be
a
a big.
little about Emeka.
Sorry?
Oh, you could. Oh, not necessarily, but it's fine if you want to turn on your camera. Can you hear me, Emeka? It's fine if you want to turn on your camera, but it's not necessary.
Okay.
So Emeka Burris is a data science and machine learning enthusiast. He's an IBM champion on data and AI. He's also a core contributor to DataSys Python library. He previously led data scientists. Is the previous lead of data scientists at GitGirls and UNDP, which are Sudan Acceleration Labs. So currently he's working as a machine learning engineer at Law Pavilion. So Emeka, could you tell us a little about how you handled rejections and how that led to you getting your first job? So just to share more context on that, different people handle rejections differently. And there are people who take rejections to heart, then feel discouraged at it. And because they got probably about 10 rejection mails in 1 week, they feel discouraged and this low self-esteem kind of sets in. And then you're like, nah, I'm not applying for jobs again. Probably this field is not just meant for me. And there are people who for each rejection mail they get makes them stronger and more determined to even do what they want, what they love doing, and keep applying for more jobs, trying to improve. So yeah, I'd like to ask, how did you handle rejections in your own case, and how did that lead to you getting your first job? Emeka, can you hear me? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
So, for I would say, handling rejection is really a very tough one for everybody. Exactly. So, one thing I have learned in the past few days is not giving my application so much expectation, because the moment you give something or a particular application a lot of expectation, you end up becoming hot, or even depressed when you get a rejection email from the company. Yeah, so that's one thing I actually do first of all. So funny enough, most of the job I actually or the application I don't give so much expectation to. Let me know if you can't hear me again, okay?
Hear you clearly now.
Yeah. So some of the job that I don't give so much expectation, unfortunately, that's I mean, I end up getting the job. Sometimes maybe the pay is not something I want because it's kind of low. Sometimes I just have to renegotiate and all those kind of things. So yeah, exactly. So first and first, I don't give a lot of expectation, yeah, to any job application. So if they want to reject me, they can reject me. I mean, it's if to me, I feel like it's a failure on their end because they actually miss a lot not having me in their team. Exactly. Because I'll say basically it's time we actually put a lot of value to ourselves. Exactly. And most importantly, learn a lot about the company. So handling rejection is something that people do differently. So to me, when I get a rejection email, that more like give me motivation to go back to my idea book and execute any of my idea or a project I actually have in mind. So I have this book where I anytime I have a thought or an idea on a machine learning product or project to build, I just go type it down. So whenever I get a rejection email, I feel like, man, this company, they do it's the kind of the way of going back to my idea book to execute some of this project, because executing this project or seeing this project come alive is something that makes me very happy. So more like replacing the depressed mood or something. But it's fine to always feel bad about the rejection email, okay? And the truth is, a lot of companies have different reasons why they reject you. So some of them reject you because maybe they don't have money to pay you. Some of them reject you maybe because you don't fit well to what they want. And the funny thing is, the first stage, which is getting to the interview, is the most difficult stage about job application, because the human resource or talent specialists don't really know a lot about your field. So if, for instance, a manager actually want to hire, and then he maybe probably see you and yeah, your application look nice, good, call you for interview, but HR might just be like, this is what the talent specialist want. It's not in your CV. Scrap this one out. Stuff like that. So it's important that you look at what the company wants and arrange your CV to fit what they want. So another thing else that you tell people why they actually get rejected. Sometimes you don't get to reach out to some people in the company for recommendation or reference. That's very important. I remember one interview I did with a company in the US. Yeah, so actually, the way I even got to the interview stage was through recommendation. So they referred me to the job, someone that worked in the company. So getting recommendation or reference is very important while you're actually looking for jobs. So there are other places where you can see a lot of startup job and apply for them. Reach out to the co-founder or somebody that work in the company. Tell them the reason why you're the best fit for the position. Sometimes they don't have time to look into your CV, your cover letter, or the look, and then they decide they reject you or not. Exactly. So it's important that you give them the reason why they should um they should accept you or they should bring you to their team. Exactly. So that's it. Yeah, and also just to add to that, my first job was through a referral. Yeah, my second job, referral. Third job, I reached out to the CEO. Yeah. So, is there anything else I need to answer? Or is there anything I'm missing?
Correct answer,
Okay.
making so much expectations on jobs when you apply actually makes it less heartbreaking when you don't get in, and that's pretty much a very nice way of looking at it. So one quick question, Nika. Have you okay, so I've had this issue, I think a few times, whereby I make it past about three application phases,
Okay.
and um let's say on the final phase or semi-final phase you get disqualified. Have you ever experienced that before?
Yes.
And what was your reaction towards that?
Yes, I that was for data camp. Yes. Yeah, I applied for a position in data camp. That was technical program lead. Yes. So I think I got to the final stage of the interview and I was disqualified. So one thing I actually learned from that was the relationship I had with the human resource and the talent specialist. So then, second thing I was able to learn from that particular experience was that a lot of companies actually have reasons why they hire people and have some kind of expectation. Exactly. Firstly, I was really sad about it because I mean I was everything actually put in the description or everything they require from the technical specialist candidate. I have everything, like literally everything. But then it was a very tough decision for them to select. But I just felt sad and went back to my idea to find a project I can work on, do the project, got my joy back again. So most importantly is I want to see how I can start monetizing, some of the projects that I built. So that's basically like my goal for next year. So any company that want to reject me, they're bad.
Yeah, so it's basically their loss for not hiring you. Yeah, I get that. That's how it works. So thanks a lot, Emeka. That was pretty much very insightful, and it was quite interesting getting to hear your opinions about handling rejections and how you prepared for job applications. So thanks once again, Emeka.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. So, Suleiman Munirat, can you hear me? If you can, could you please say
Hi,
hi? Hi, Munir. Hi, Munirat. How are you today?
hi, Volleyball. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine as well. So, a little about Munirat. Munirat is a backend developer who also has experience in machine learning and AI. For AI, she focuses on computer vision. She develops software majorly in Python. She also writes cloud functions as API on GCP, which is a Google Cloud platform. And she recently got her Audacity Nano degree in data science. Currently, she works as a Python developer at Interfind Inc. So, Munirat, my first question for you would be, how long were you on the job hunt before you finally got that congratulatory email?
Um, so while I was job hunting, I was trying to like up my skills. So basically about because I did some internship off and about, so it's like 7 months. So do you want to buttress on that?
Yeah. Tell us how it was like all through those periods when you were
So it was kind of hard because I had to start with like unpaid internship, and I mean I didn't even mind because I just wanted to like gather the skills. I knew that once I get this,
Munirat, if you can hear me, I can't hear you.
but are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear
Okay,
me
so I
now?
was saying that yeah.
Oh, you can go on. So sorry about the slight network issue.
Okay, cool. So I said that it was a bit difficult for me when I started because I wanted to like up my skills and all. So I started with an unpaid internship. So I didn't even really mind because I wanted to like gather the old skills so that I'd be like unstoppable and just like dive into the sector and all that. So, but it was a bit of a sacrifice for me because where I got the internship opportunity, I was a bit far from my place. So I had to like move with my hands, which was quite uncomfortable at the time. So, but I still like made those sacrifices because I knew that I was going to like benefit from it at the end of the day. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. So after the unpaid internship, anyway, unfortunately, I got like wrong information about the guys that I joined because I was supposed to like do the unpaid internship for a few months, and then I'll be up to like being paid some stipends for like my TFE and all that. But unfortunately for me, the company was one of those companies that would like to just using your skills and make you do some things for them, and they will not pay you at the end of the day. They'll probably just give you excuses like, okay, you've not reached the goal, you still need to do some more and all. So I mean I feel bad at the end of the day because I was expecting more from them, but it wasn't all bad because I gained a lot from them. At the time I just started with PHP. I started with PHP at the beginning of my career anyway, before I dived into Python. So diving into Python was not like my whole intention anyway, but over time where I got that okay, the company could not like help up with what I needed because money to like take care of myself, just fair basically. So I tried to like check online and I didn't even have any network per se. I didn't even have anybody that I could ask to check out for a job for me. So, but I was always online checking out things that I think that I could apply for, basically internships and all. So I got this internship to wasn't really an internship, it was more like a training to learn Python. And then I went to research about Python and then I saw that okay, you could use Python for data science, you could use it for AI, you could use it for web, you could use it all that. So I didn't just dive into the programming language. I found out that it's something that I could actually work with. I like that the language is like dynamic and I can do like a couple of stuff with it. So then I started with that too, which was also unpaid. I mean, they were even doing me a favor because it was just classes. It was more like a scholarship. So it was those classes that I had to take. I think it was like twice a week. And I did that for a couple of months, like 4 months. So which was so all this while I was learning and I wasn't getting a dime, but I didn't mind because I knew that sacrifices were going to be worth it eventually. So I mean, after that, after the whole training and internship and unpaid and all, I um I like wrapped up my CV and then I had something to like present to the world. So then I started doing like proper job search. So I got my first job, it was actually a referral. Yeah, so I got my first job as a machine learning engineer, a junior machine learning engineer at a Photozo at the time. So it was then that I officially started working, like really working and getting paid for what I was doing. So that was like my story so far, going through beginning into then diving into the sector.
Wow, that's very interesting to hear. Um, it's very interesting to hear how you started from looking for internships to getting a place to learn and eventually getting your first job. So what would you say was kind of like a challenge um during the application phase when um you actually got your first job? What would you say when you were learning and when you eventually got your first job, what would you say were the you faced along the way?
Yeah, so the problem I had with my first job was I was like the first set of machine learning guys that was employed. So I didn't have like a senior dev or like a higher mentor that I could reach out to if I had an issue. So I have to do all the research by myself. I mean, I know that I went through all the training, but now it's a real life project. I have to like report and I have to like be sure that I'm actually doing what the company wants me to do. So the challenge that I faced at the time was I didn't have anybody to help me out. So I had to do a lot of research on my own. I had to do a lot of reading. I had to take several courses, and the company actually helped out and bought in like some courses for me on Udemy. So it was like a long time of learning, like reading and making sure that I was doing the right thing. And I didn't particularly have a mentor to help me through it.
Well, it must have been really difficult having to go through the whole learning and getting familiar with the new work environment before you got a mentor to put you through. So thanks a lot. Thanks a
Yeah,
lot,
it was a
Munir.
lot.
Yeah. I know how difficult that can be. Not having anyone to guide you through. No one. You're just stuck with Stack
Yeah,
Overflow and Google.
yeah. That those are basically my mentors the whole time.
Yeah. So thanks a lot. Thanks so much, Munira. Really appreciate your time and
Thank you.
thank you very much for sharing your
Thank you
story.
for having me.
Yes. So Uchechuku Obas, could you say hi if you can hear me?
Hi,
Oh hi Uche, how are you doing?
super solid. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. So Uche and self-motivated front-end engineer. He has a huge passion for open source, uh, and he's also interested is a software engineer at Grafana Labs currently. So Uche, I would my first question for you would be um when you got your first job, what peculiar thing or what specific thing would you say caught the attention of your recruiter on your CV or on your portfolio?
So hi everyone. Once again, my name is Uche. So, so actually, my first job, I got my first job. That was last month. That was November. So I'm pretty much new to the job market.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I'm more like an entry level guy now. So I would say what really got them interested in me, I would say, was number one, the fact that I had already, like, I was contributing to open source, to different open source projects. So I was really, really involved within the open source community. So I think that helped. And then the second was, I would say, I had at some, I'm not trying to hype myself here, but I would say I had to some extent, I was good at communicating throughout the interview. So I guess they were impressed by my communication skills. How I was able to introduce myself and communicate with them. And yeah, I think these are like the two like major things they saw in me that made them to finally like make that decision to hire me. So I think it's number one, the fact that I contributed to open source, and number two, my communication skills.
So that's pretty much very interesting. You have a great communication skill mixed with your experience contributing to several open source projects, which sort of like gave you leverage during the application process. So, what was it like contributing to open source, and why do you feel that like kind of like gave you leverage during the application process? What projects did you contribute specifically that you think the recruiters were actually interested
Okay. So early this year, there was this event called Open Source Open Source Africa event in Lagos. So I attended the event. It was my first time getting introduced to open source and all of those things. So throughout the event, I was really, really attentive. So after the event, I went back home and I told myself that I should definitely give this a try. So I started looking out for different open source programs. So for those of you that are still in school, so we have like GSOC, Google Summer of Code. We also have Community Bridge. Now it's called Linux LFX mentorship. That's like Linux Foundation mentorship. So I looked around and I saw these programs and I decided to apply to these programs because at the time I felt that it was going to be like the easiest way for me to like get into the open source world. So I applied to GSOC, I applied to the Community Bridge. Unfortunately, I didn't get into GSOC, but I was fortunate enough to get into Community Bridge. So Community Bridge, it's a program organized or sponsored by the Linux Foundation. So basically they sponsor different open source projects. So basically the way they sponsor them is they pay mentees or contributors to contribute to those projects within a specific period of time. So I was lucky enough to get an opportunity to like work with Thanos with the Thanos project, within the CNCF ecosystem. So basically, CNCF it's more like a foundation that houses or I wouldn't say all, but most of the cloud native projects and cloud native tools and technologies. So 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 at the time when I was contributing to Thanos, I started like looking out for different organizations that exist within the CNCF space because I'd seen that open source is something I love to do and it's something that resonates with my culture and my belief as a person. So while I was looking out for those organizations, I came across Grafana Labs. And Grafana Labs and Thanos happen to exist within the same ecosystem. So like they happen to exist within the same observability space, the same cloud native space. So at the time I was a little bit shy to apply to Grafana Labs. I was more like an observer from afar, so and then just one sudden Saturday morning, I decided to like reach out to like a friend that works at Grafana Labs, and I told them that hey, I'm interested in this company. I would love to apply, and then they told me to apply. So I guess um like just like I said, part of the reasons why they chose me was because I had already been involved within the ecosystem. So the fact that I had already started contributing to Thanos made them to see that okay, this person is quite involved within the open source ecosystem. Let's give him a chance. So I guess that was how I got to contribute, or I got to contribute to open source, and how I got to learn about the company. So I would just to sum it up, I think it was as a direct result of referral. referral basically, and of course from the fact that I'd already like started contributing within that space.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. So you seem to have like a lot of experience contributing to open source code at um
Not
project.
not really. So I don't really have experience. To be honest, I started contributing to open source March, either March or April this year. So I'm pretty much new into this space. So
Oh, then. But then your contributions to open source were kind of like what gave you a leverage to the job you applied for. So prior to you working at Grafana Labs and prior to your contribution to open source projects under the Linux Foundation, what was it like applying for jobs? And did you face any major rejection in the past before you started contributing to open source?
okay, so I would say 2 years ago or like a year ago, that was when I started applying for jobs. But then I wasn't serious with it. I was just, I believed in luck at that point. I felt okay, this was Facebook, this was Google. Let me just apply and then see what will happen. Maybe I might be lucky to get an opportunity to interview. That was basically my mentality at the time. And of course, I mean, what would you expect? I got rejections upon rejections, from both fan companies to like startups here and there. And then early this year, I was like, okay, I think what I could do is I could probably like create a structure around my learning. I was like, okay, so what should I learn, in order to make me employable within this specific period of time. So like I wrote down my goals, I wrote down some resources I could use to learn up. So after doing those things, I also tried to like map down the kind of companies I would apply to. I wasn't really just applying randomly. I was really conscious of the organizations I was applying to, because I noticed that during the application process, it's very important to get to like know about the company very, very well. I mean, companies get interested in you when you tend to know a lot about them. So I just list out some companies I was interested in at the time, and I started applying to them. I think it was just like two or three different companies. So yeah, so I guess that was my approach towards applying for jobs at the time. I was applying randomly, but then I had to create a structure, and then I had to like target specific companies. So that targeting actually helped me to narrow down my focus and helped me to like prepare like very well, for during those um, job application process. So I guess that was how the whole thing went. Oh, Bello, can you hear me?
Hello, Bello. Can you hear me?
I think he has issues with his network.
I think he has issues with his network.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can hear you now.
Oh, 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 sorry about that. So, thanks a lot, Uche. That was pretty much insightful. So, yeah, if you're a developer and you don't already contribute to open source, I think you should consider doing that, because clearly you could see that that was one of the things that gave Uche leverage towards getting his first job. So, yeah, I'm pretty much this kind of person that likes to advocate for open source contributions a lot. So, yeah, you should try to give back to the open source community, try to contribute to projects. So thanks a lot for that, Uche. Really appreciate you coming to share your experience with us. Uh Busira Mohammed and Busira Ahmed, sorry about that. Are you on the call? Could you say hi if you're on the call?
Hi.
Hi Busira, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm good.
So yeah, Busira is a scientist and she has a high level of interest in natural language processing and knowledge graphs. She's currently a data scientist at Yale Score. So Busira, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay.
Just a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I a data science prior where I focused on also building solutions for healthcare. I also have a nano degree in data foundation. So and I recently graduated from the Microsoft professional program for data science, which was like a year program. It was a fellowship.
I'm really sorry. I think I must have pronounced your name wrongly. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah,
Sorry, could you?
no problem. I get that from people a lot. So
I'm so sorry about. Could you please pronounce it so I could pronounce it the right way?
Bushra,
Okay, Bushra. Okay. What I pronounced was far from that. I'm so sorry about that.
no
So,
problem. I understand.
so Bushra, how did you structure your job applications when you're applying for jobs? Do you have a particular pattern? Different people do things different way. Some people just go to multiple sources when they see jobs being posted, they apply. And some people have specific sources, probably Stack Overflow jobs, LinkedIn, work remotely, and they just focus on that particular source. And they have like a document where they like list different jobs they applied for, which they got rejection. So how was your job application pretty much um structured? Did you have like a specific structure, or you were just applying and reaching out to people that I'm interested in taking up a role as a data scientist? If you have anyone in your network, or how exactly was it structured?
So I actually started really hunting for a job around August 2019. So I was supposed to be on IT then, but I wasn't looking for internship a job. So what I did that time, I was doing the normal application, but what I think really helped me that time was that I actually went on LinkedIn. I tried to filter like people that are into data science, machine learning. So I picked out where they all work, and I tried to like check for those companies. So I went on their career page. Some I could like see that they actually like trying to hire, and some I just tried to like find a way to contact the company probably through their career email or something. So I sent several emails to some of those companies. So I got a lot of feedback. Some were like, "Oh, they're not currently hiring," and all, and some actually sent their interview question to me. But finally, like at the end of the day, I didn't even I didn't even take some of those interviews, because during that process I, through my network that I don't even know, I got like a referral. So where the parallel scope CEO actually like messaged me that, oh, that he has actually seen my portfolio and he would love for me to work for them. So that was how I got in touch with some other members of their management team, and we had like a short interview, and that was it. But I think what's actually helped me most of the time, because most of the time, even from the rejection mail, I would say that, oh, it's not like I'm not qualified. Probably they actually went for someone with higher level of experience, like years of experience or something. So one thing I noticed that must have helped me is my CV. So I try to document every project I've worked on, every article I've written. I try to document them through my CV. So even by sharing my CV, you don't really need to ask for my GitHub account. You don't need to ask for extra things. You've seen all you really need to even judge that, oh, this person, we can go on with this person for a technical interview or not. So I think that's been really helpful.
I actually think that was having really helpful. Having your CV structured to leave no questions unanswered. That sort of like makes a lot of sense. So I'd like to ask, how were you applying for jobs? Like, how often do you apply? Is it like you say, oh, this week I'll probably look up 5 roles that I think I'm a major fit for, then apply for those roles, or you just do it randomly? How frequent were your job applications?
Okay, yeah, when I was actually applying, I was doing it like every day
Oh, so
because I was using the LinkedIn route, and I was still like searching online using the different platforms available.
oh yeah. So some of the jobs you applied for that you got rejections for, how did you handle the rejections? Did they like have a major effect on how your future applications looked like? Or how what was your reaction to?
Yeah, so most of them actually got me they made me better in a way or two, because okay, like I once got a rejection and the person specifically wrote that, oh, they rejected my application because I didn't put my strengths in each of those technologies I listed. So that's why she couldn't like move on. So that was when I noticed that, oh, sometimes when you apply, you have to put that, oh, this is, I'm really good at using this particular framework, or I have like a better strength when it comes to this part of the job. So that's one thing. And also sometimes some rejection mail will actually make you feel like, oh, for these people to even attend to me, for me to even move forward. So that means I'm actually qualified for this job. I'm just not the best person for them. That's the way I see rejections most times. And sometimes it will trigger you to do more. Probably you yourself, you are aware that, oh, I actually failed this technical interview. So this is where I need to start learning more. So that's where I see most rejections. I try to look at the good side and get myself better at whatever I'm trying to achieve.
So if to say rejections has actually made you stronger at make has actually made your job application stronger. So thanks a lot, Bushra. Really appreciate you joining the call and coming out to share your experience. Um, thank you. So Erioluwa Ashiro, are you on the call? If you're on the call, could you say hi?
Hi,
Oh, hi, Eri. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Everybody.
Yeah, I'm doing great as well. So a little bit about Eriolua, although I'll leave her to do the introduction part. She's a full stack developer. She currently works at Iconic. She's very fast in PHP, Python. and JavaScript. So, Eri, can you tell us a bit more about yourself?
Okay. My name is Bello. A full stack web developer. And, yeah, full stack web developer. At my major in backend and like I think I work with PHP and Python, but currently where I work with Python. Medium. So so framework wise, I work well with Django and Flask. That's all.
So, that's pretty much interesting, Eri. So, when did you get your first job, and how was it like getting your first job? How was it like? I mean, in terms of excitement, how excited were you to get your first job? And when
Okay.
was it that you got your first job?
Speaking of what I would like to see my first job as the first job I got that I was really excited about the pay, excited about the working conditions, and really interested in what I was getting done because most of the time your first job you don't it's sometimes internship, unpaid internship and stuff like that. So that was earlier this year. Um, and that was at Invisible. It was a remote role. I was working as a software engineer, but it wasn't like a language centric job. So it's an automation. You can work with any language anytime, depending on the task you are given. Any whatever gets it done. But majorly, it's usually Python and JavaScript and any library that works with your task.
That's very getting your first job early this year. How long did it actually take you to get the job? I mean, right from when you started searching to when you got that congratulatory email, how long was it?
Hello,
Hello, Eri. Did you get my last question?
hello, can you?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Both of you.
Eri, can you hear me?
Hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Eri. Can you hear us? Eri, can you hear us? I can hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Hello, Eric.
Yeah, okay, I can hear you now.
Oh, yeah. So, did you get my last question, or should I repeat myself?
Please repeat yourself. I didn't get that.
Okay, yeah. So, the last question was, how long to move from applying to jobs to actually getting your first job? I mean, right from when you sent in your first application for that role, did you get any major rejection along during that period, and how long did it take you to
If get your question, where did you mean how long it took me for my first application to that particular job?
how long it took you from first job application to that particular point where you got that congratulatory email?
Um, I, I wasn't really keeping track of it in months, but it was a couple of trying to find a really find a job. It's a couple of let me say maybe so that couple of jobs we would have taken along the line do, but it got the satisfactory one pending. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you say you did differently during those months that eventually um land your first job? What was the thing you did differently?
Yeah, it was working on a lot of personal projects. I kept on like I can just I saw someone did something, I want to replicate it, try to get that done and put it in my CV. Also attending was something that helped me trying to my campus and make sure I'm there. So whatever we get done, I had it to my CV as well. So that was what really first job.
Okay. That's really interesting. Asked in the chat section. The person said, was there a specific reason why you learned Django and Flask?
Okay, there wasn't a specific time. I started with Flask actually. So I started in because that's what I did pick Flask for you. I picked it because that was what my mentor was at then. I did pick up, so I picked Flask and I was really fluent in it. Then when looking for Python jobs, most of mostly Django jobs. So I decided to learn Django then. So most times when you're going to web developer, Django jobs. Then,
Oh, that's interesting. So, Eri, have you gotten any major rejection in the past that's kind of like made you feel discouraged? That you know that moments where you have put in so much effort into the application and then you get rejected. I know it can be really discouraging. So, have you had that? Have you ever had that experience of getting a major rejection that it really affected you and discouraged you in a way from further applying for jobs?
yeah, a lot actually.
Yeah, can you?
So some are even like you don't even get to get a response from the company. You sent out an application and you keep expecting a month, 2 months, and you're like, okay, maybe one. There are some where you get even the notification that you didn't get the job almost immediately. You can send the application out and an hour later you got a message that you didn't get the job, and it's like gives you a feeling that maybe you are not good enough, so that when you see some roles around that revolve that around the job title, you just feel like, okay, maybe I'm not good enough in this aspect, and you don't want to apply. But still have to keep going and keep applying.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So, regardless of how many you got, you just remain strong, motivated to continue applying for jobs. So,
Yeah.
thanks a lot for your time, Eri. I really appreciate you
Thank
coming out here to share your experience with us. All learned a thing or two from your experiences so far. So, thank you very much.
you.
So, Cynthia Peter, could you please say hi if you can hear me? Cynthia, can you please say hi if you can hear me? I don't think Cynthia can hear me. So, Young, um, can you please hear me? Can you hear me? Can you please say hi if you can hear me? Young, Etuk.
You're already set as hosts, so you should probably just turn on the mic. Just turn on the mic.
Young, can you hear me? How about if Ibo can hear me? Could you please leave a message in the chat section? You both can't access the mic. I think both of you are set as hosts now. So you should be able to see the mute and unmute button.
Or you could rejoin the call. Okay, yes, I think Edidion can speak now.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Excellent. Sorry for the
Yeah,
delay.
we can hear you now, Edidion. Yeah,
Okay, fine.
that's fine, Edidion. So Edidion is a DevOps engineer at OBC. He Okay, it disturbs his peers anytime he runs into code issues and listens to all kind of music. Interesting. So he's currently a DevOps engineer at All Control Blasting Consultant. So Edidion, can you tell us a bit more about yourself?
All right, sure. So for those who didn't hear what he said, what Bello said, I'm a DevOps engineer. I'm just like your average guy, like the normal average dude that everybody knows. But the thing you should know about me is anytime I run into issues, like in short, immediately after this call, I'm sort of having issues. I have to call some other person, and it's something as easy as syntax issues. So I disturb my friends a lot anytime I run into issues, and it's one thing everybody like. I'm sure I've called Habib several times, like, "Hey, I'm running into this code issue. Are you free?" and stuff. And well, my day-to-day activities at work is mostly DevOps related issues. Like it's not like something fancy. Everybody like their front-end engineers here, their back-end, so everybody knows how easy it is to face bugs and stuff. The only difference between me and a lot of people is that I did disturb my friends a lot. So now maybe that I don't know. Is there any other fancy thing you would love to hear?
Well, that's very interesting. You always get to ask questions when you are stuck. I believe everyone does that. Even if you don't message friends, you visit Google or Stack Overflow, and when it becomes beyond, I don't want to say beyond Google, you ask a friend. So I believe. So Ejijiang, could you tell us what it was like getting your first job? How
Can I use your
uh
earpiece?
can you come again?
Let me beat that too. I was not the one, sorry.
Okay. So how was it like getting your first job? What was the experience like? And how did you go about it?
Omo. Well, okay, so let me just go straight to the point. Getting your first job is like one of the most difficult things anybody can ever get. Like, to be very honest, I think once you land your first job, you check people's profiles, yeah. Immediately you see that they have a job. The next thing you see is several other jobs coming after. So the first one is the major one. Like, first one is the major problem. How I got my first job, I would love to talk about that, but let me digress a little. To give advice to anybody who's looking to land their first job before I talk about mine, whatever field you are in, the longest method or the shortest method is for you to learn data structures and algorithms quite literally. Like, there are platforms like Lead Code, HackerRank to improve your skills. So if you could spend like 4 months improving your data structures and algorithms knowledge in any field at all, like maybe, okay, excluding DevOps and site reliability, but infrastructure engineering, back end, front end, machine learning, if you can improve your data structures and algorithm skill, go to a platform like TripleByte, take their test, pass it, and then you will see yourself landing your first job. That is just the simple and long shot of whatever it is I have to say. I didn't follow that method. My own method was more like, I don't know. My own method was more like it's more unique to me, you know. So I could say, okay, yeah, these are the exact steps I took. I went to this platform. I contributed to open source. I met my network. I could give you all those mechanical answers, but I wait, Latifa, you can't hear me. Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear. I can hear you.
All right, excellent. Sorry about that, Latifa. Maybe you should refresh your browser. Okay, so I could give you the mechanical answer. So the mechanical answer is, well, my friend invited me to do a job for someone on Code Mentor, and then I did a job for him. And then because of the way I related with the client, I sort of got his email. Like, every client I communicate with, whether on Fiverr or Upwork, I actually get their emails so that I could do follow-ups, ask them questions. So the dude loved my vibes. He loved the work, the job I did. And then we kept on talking, and there was a time I messaged him. I was like, "Hey, I recently did something with Terraform." He was like, "Oh yeah, there's an opening in the company for someone to do Terraform as a contract staff." And I was like, "All right, sure, shoot." And then I did that. Got my first, like, got the um, then and obviously Slack channels where they post all these job openings. So yeah, you could always apply for those. But I've given you like the best answer. The best thing you can do for yourself is just sit down, spend 4 months learning data structures and algorithms. Go to a platform like triplebyte.com. There are always jobs on triplebyte.com. Yeah, and then you would see your first. You're going to land your first job. Like, it's as simple as that. But then, if you follow me, Sha.
Thanks a lot for that piece of advice, William. I think data structures and algorithms one that a lot of people actually overlook and don't pay a lot of attention to. And that's because it actually takes time to master it. So it's kind of like a longer course, but here it's really helpful when you have strong DSA skills. So
Yeah, so in as much as it's longer, so here's the thing. For instance, let me give you something. Let me give you like a backend engineer now. So a backend developer, you're using Python, you're using Flask, and the next thing is they're going to tell you should learn Redis, you should learn caching, you should learn about system designs, you should learn about the database, or if you're a machine learning engineer, they're like NLP, computer vision. There's so many things to learn, and there will always be things to learn. But guess what the constant thing is? It's data structures and algorithms. Like, I have to just be very honest. I have to say the truth. It's like one constant in every company. The problem that a lot of people have the problem that a lot of people have is what do you call it? Oh yes, to answer the question that Abib just posted, how often do you use data structure and algorithm at your job? Zero. Like 0 times. I don't use it in any way. Obviously, understand having an idea of how long a code is going to run, checking bottlenecks, doing stuff like load testing an application, and then checking code complexities. It will need an idea of data structures and algorithm. But to use that directly, no, I don't use that. I don't use it many times. But if you want to land your first job, you just have to go through that long method. If you want to go through every other method, you feel frustrated. I no go lie give you get points where you go reach, you no go see work. You go dey find 20K, you go dey find 30K to get work. But if you can sit your ass down for like 4 months and be a data structures and algorithms expert, you could walk into Slack. I could even share you a Slack link now. Their whole interview process is documented. And then the only thing you just need to do is just use that data structure and algorithm knowledge you have, plus your own basic skills, and then you land a job in any of these fan companies. So sure, yes, I could say do the usuals, like do the usuals of contribute to open source, get a network, join so many communities. There are those parts, I could say that. And I'm sure a lot of people have said that. But this is something I think I need to put out there in case anybody's interested in landing their own first job. Like, and you think you can't go through the other method. So just please learn data structure and algorithm. It will always help you. I started learning it, and though I failed my last interview, so no be anything.
So thanks a lot for that, Edivion. I think someone asked another question also. The person said, "What is DevOps?" So could you just please give some little insight into what DevOps?
Omo. Okay, so Motolani, thanks for that question. I saw something on Google just now, and I don't know why the thing just lost. Like I was about reading from there directly, but the thing lost. So anyway, on my own end, yeah. So DevOps is more like, the full meaning is developer operations. Yeah. So you would have to combine, you have to work with developers and you have to work with the operations team. But then a lot of times companies don't have operations team. So your main focus is just being the ops guy and also working with the developers. My day-to-day job, yeah, I'll just give you an example of my day-to-day job. Maybe you have an idea of what DevOps is about. So you have a product, you have an application, and then they need to deploy this application faster. Obviously, the like average way of doing it is copying the application to a server, or doing a git clone on the server itself, and then deploying the application. But then with DevOps, you hear stuff like continuous integration and continuous deployment. What that big grammar basically means is whenever there's a code push on your whenever any developer makes a code push, it triggers some sort of event. Like, okay, from your local to, if they are tests, it will run the test first. If the test pass, then you can push it to the next stage. If not, tell the developer to revisit it. If you contribute to open source organizations, you're going to see that a lot. CI/CD. Then you move to the next stage, pushing everything to the server, making sure the entire process is automated. You could also, if anybody's familiar with any cloud provider out there, like spinning up on DigitalOcean, on AWS, GCP, you know how you have to go to the management and like the console and click whatever button it is to be clicked, yeah? With in a DevOps world, all you basically have to do is all those events that are taking place on the UI, you can actually automate it with your code. Like they call it infrastructure as code. So you have to write that code. That there's a code like something like with YAML. It's not really hard. And they always copy every time. Like documentation has everything, so you don't need to like say too much about that. So yeah, you could easily do that and say, okay, yes, this is how I'm like, this is DevOps in its own sense. Then you also have to worry about security issues, reliability issues. Like I made mention of load testing your application. You could have an application and you want to know how many users can connect to the application at the same time without it hanging. You have to worry about. So there's several aspects of DevOps that it just has the principal aim or the culture of DevOps is just to make life easier for developers. So that's just what DevOps is. A DevOps engineer is meant to make life easier for the developers. So if you're working in any company, this goes to the speakers. If you work in any company and your DevOps guy is giving you issue or wrong,
So, Orang. So, thanks a lot for that, Young. I think that was a pretty insightful explanation to what DevOps is all about. So, Egidian, how did you handle rejections when you were applying for jobs, and when exactly did you get your first? What how did you handle rejections from different job applications, and what did you do differently that you think made you land your first job?
well, according to my LinkedIn, I landed my first job last year, June 2019. Like I said, according to my LinkedIn, uh you could easily say I landed my first job August this year, but it depends on how you want to view it, really. But then my LinkedIn says July last year, so I'll stick with July. Mm, how I handled rejections, well, let me be 100% honest. There are some rejections that make me cry, that made me cry rather. I'll give you an instance. Google season of docs. So I'm going to talk about somebody now, Habib Shokweju. Yeah. So Habib sort of prepared for GSOC, Google Summer of Code. He prepared for it a lot, and then the organization he wanted to contribute to told him that we are sorry we couldn't pick you, though you are more experienced, which was a shitload of bullshit, or rather was nonsense. But anyways, Habib said that Habib can confirm. You can tell them, oh, no, beside the lie. uh So that reject, I saw the way Habib handled that rejection, and it was hell. He was ranting on his status, then a lot of things, Jerry. That was Habib's own. But my own, when Season of Dogs rejected me, like the rejection was so painful because I contributed with them, and at the end of the day, the person they picked was the person reviewing my PRs. To show you how fucked up it was, they would have easily told now more, you know, get a chance. But they made me apply, and then that one hurt me. I think the results came out on a Sunday, and then I was lying down couple of my friends and was like, they don't reject me. And they were like, relax, no worry, to get better. And then stuff like that. So that's one. Then I actually did cry about that. Then other rejections. Well, early this year. So aside from that particular rejection, other rejections don't get to me. And I'll tell you why. Early this year, I listened to a TED talk about someone who targeted 100 rejection emails. Like it was sort of like a target. Like, okay, she got 100 rejection emails, and to be honest, I followed that same principle. Really, I targeted 100 rejection emails. Like I was like, okay, I got to apply for this work. If I see a rejection email, if I see a rejection email, then good to go. I'm on the right track or something. So that was what I started doing. I started applying. Obviously, thanks for your interest in so and so. We recognize it takes a lot of time to apply for this role, and then the next thing you see is what do you call it? We are sorry, unfortunately, we can't continue with the application. If you apply for jobs, you go see that email steady, like it's some sort of template that they all follow. So anytime I see that, like I have this inner joy, like okay, I'm counting. So right now I am on 48 rejection emails. Yes, I have 48 rejection emails this year, which is pretty. And like I'm feeling bad because I've not gotten to my target of 100, and the year is almost over. So yeah, that was what I just sort of flipped it. It's some sort of psychological step that I took. Like instead of feeling bad about a rejection email, I should feel better because I found an application that was like, okay, yes, this job fits me and stuff. And then, well, a bonus point out of the 48 rejection emails, I actually got 12 acceptance email, like for the next steps, like, okay, let's follow the next steps, Andrea. So rejection emails are painful, they can be stressful, but it depends on how you view it. Targeting rejection emails help me. You could have your own stuff to do. Like you could think of your own self, like, okay, maybe when I say rejection email, I'll just frame it and say this company, I must get into it later. So everybody has their own stuff, really. Like that's how I dealt with mine.
Yeah, that So it's more like a psychological switch. Instead of looking at rejections like, oh more, these people no hire me this time around, you're looking at it like, oh, I got one more rejection and I'm closer to my goal of 100 rejections.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like that's the vibe. Like, I'm getting to my goal. Like I'm getting to my goal. Let's keep going, guys. Let's keep going. So that's just it.
Exactly, more like a psychological switch. That's actually very interesting anyway. So I believe a lot of people can actually adopt that also. So instead of feeling too bad and so bad about rejections, you just look at it as one more step to being better. So thanks a lot for the insight, Edition. I think it was a pretty insightful session and learned quite a few things from discussing this with you. So yeah, thank you very much for joining the call. Thank you very much for sparing some time to come and talk with us and share your experience.
Yeah, it's fine. So I have to answer two questions I saw on the chat. Okay, the first thing Habib says he's glad for GSOC rejection, which is true. Like Habib, after he rejected GSOC, he got into Wikimedia. Okay, no, he was already in Wikimedia, but then he had the opportunity to follow that thing. So GSOC rejection helped him. And the same with me. Um okay, Bello, could you mute? Okay, it was echoing on my end. So after GSOD rejected me, which is something I didn't actually add, after Google Season of Docs rejected me, I sort of used some time, not all the time. Obviously, I was still sulking, but I sort of used some time after that to be able to learn a couple of things, which was when I learned Terraform, and then that was how I was able to just follow my passion, like they used to say, but I was just learning anything good, not be passion and money are defined. So yes, that's true. Some rejections actually spoil you to be better. Some don't. So let's not be as if I'm giving all those aspire to perspire crap. And then to answer the question by Motolani, what happens when you reach 100? By the time I reach 100, I start again, fam. Like I look at, okay, so as much as I will start again, the first thing I'll do is, okay, let's see what were the rejection emails. What did they say? You heard Bushira said something about a company saying that she did not list her strengths in the CV. So you look at the feedback from those rejection emails. I remember one of the rejection emails telling me that it's because I have a lot of internship, like I don't have real world experience. I just have internship opportunities. And I was like, wow. So because I put internship there, that's why they didn't hire me. What I did, if you look at my CV now, those internship parts, because my internships are mostly open source, so I shifted those internships to an open source column, and then I made sure that my actual experience, years of experience, showed. So these rejection emails made me improve my CV. Right now, when I look at my CV, I'm wowed by my, like, I know I dey shout Godwin on top my own CV. So no worry. Before all of now go do Godwin, I don't dey run the same Godwin for myself. So yeah, that in a sense helped me a lot. So by the time I reach 100 rejection emails, man, I start all over, look at the things I need to learn and then push on. But as I am now, I don't think I'll get to 100. Like I have some interviews scheduled up and I'm already at the last stage of the interviews. So no verse. There's no 100 this year. Maybe next year, if I'm looking for a job, I'll look for it.
Oh yeah, so that's actually very helpful. How you handle rejections can actually influence what your future applications look like and how you prepare for them. I personally too have experienced that having so much rejections has made me restructure my CV, shape it and all of that. So yeah. um so yeah, let's move to the next person. Cynthia Peter. Um you hear me? If you can, could you please say hi?
Hi. Hello, I can hear you.
Oh, oh, hi, Cynthia. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well. And how are you?
Oh, well, I'm fine overall. I'm doing great. So, just a little about Cynthia. Um, she currently she currently works as a freelance mobile app developer. She's a tech enthusiast that's passionate about technical writing, holding doors open for newbies and mobile app development. Okay, so Cynthia, could you tell us a bit more about yourself, aside what I have in your bio here?
Uh, I don't think I have a lot about myself to share, right? I I mean, aside eating food, I think I shared that already. Um, Nothing. Basically, I just live my life trying to figure out how to get better at writing, Flutter and that. And also, I'm currently trying to figure out a way to be a better technical writer. Aside that, there's nothing interesting about it. So,
So, being a very, very interesting because be a lot of knowledge and a lot of information with writing. So, writing itself is a way of self-expression. So, I find that fascinating and very interesting.
yeah, try.
So, yeah,
I agree.
Cynthia, can you tell us about a major rejection you faced in the past and how you handled that rejection?
Uh, well, the truth is, when it comes to my career as a mobile app developer, I don't think I've gotten rejections yet because I've never really applied for jobs. Okay. Then, on the second hand, the one rejection that really tore me apart was outreachy internship. Like, it's shredded me into pieces because I was really, really hoping I was going to get in because the comments I was getting, the feedback was perfect. Like, when just like when the previous speaker spoke and then he said you were sure that you were doing this thing right. But at the end of the day, they just give you one flimsy excuse and tell you this or that or whatever, and then it came. I think it came on this. I got mine on a Sunday too, and then I was really really heartbroken. I mean, I cried. I actually cried. That was the first time I was applying to something, and I was not just applying to it. Like I was giving it my all. I applied as a technical writer though, because more than the whole coding thing, I think I enjoy technical writing more. So I really really wanted to get into the project, and it was a project I was passionate about, web monetization. We get so we had all this crypto stuff. That was when I learned about XRP and all that. So I really, really wanted to get into the project because of the experience, because of the whole story. I was enjoying it, but at the end of the day, I didn't get in. That was like my first and my last job rejection experience. Since then, I've not applied for a job again. Okay, I've applied for one, but that was like a referral thing. So it was not like really something I really wanted to pursue. That was the first time, probably that's the last. I've never really applied for a job since then. And this happened in like April or so. Yeah, so that's it.
So I'd like to ask Cynthia, why have you not been applying
Yeah.
for jobs before then? And you not applying for jobs, did he have any after then? Did he have anything to do with the outreach rejection?
No, before the whole outreach thing, I was just 3 months into Flutter. You get before the whole outreach thing, I was just 3 months into Flutter. So it didn't make sense to me to be applying for Flutter jobs at that time. So when I now applied for the outreach thing, given my skill set and my experience I had prior to the time, because prior to that time, I already freelanced on Upwork as a technical writer. And yes, the feedback I was getting there was superb. I was getting like 5-star rating on all my gigs. And it was even showing in the turn up and like it was so good. Then getting a rejection letter for the outreach internship at something I was 100% sure that was the only thing I was sure in my life I was good at. It broke me, and that was why since then till now I've never really applied for a job again. Now I think about it, that's weird. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, so
So I think it's just the fear of being rejected again.
okay. Yeah, so that's actually totally understandable. When you get one major rejection, it's kind of like affects you from not wanting to go through that kind of tedious process and end up not making it again. So yeah,
Yeah.
so how would you say it's actually like what would you do differently if you were to apply for a similar role or another job now? What would you do differently? Like what did you learn from your experience applying as an outreach intern?
Mm, I'm not really sure because I don't think I want to apply as an outreach intern again. The experience because I gave that one my all. Like I literally contributed to the project. I did my research. I mean, I even that was when I learned how to um like I learned how to work on program flows and all that just because of that project. And I mean, I literally gave it my all. Then I didn't get it. Since then, I don't think I want to apply to an outreach internship again, even any job at all. My first job experience was different, though it wasn't like I had to apply for it like the traditional way of you see a job posting and then you apply. I was recommended to someone by someone. Someone just reached out to me on Twitter and was like, "Hey Cynthia, there's this job opening, and I don't know if you'd be interested. I always see that you talk about Flutter, and this is a very nice opportunity. You could give it a shot. Send an email to so person," and that was it. So I just sent a random mail to the person, and in like 5 seconds, I got a feedback that he will be sending me a task to do, and if I'm able to finish it, then I get the job. I get to interview with the team and then we just go on with the processes. That was like my first job I ever applied for aside outreachy. And yeah, I think I got it. I got the job. That was like my first job application and my first job experience. And I don't really see what I actually did for that one that I didn't do for outreachy. I think I gave outreachy everything. So I can't even say what I would do differently if outreachy should come up again.
Yeah. So there's a question in the chat section. I just want to quickly attend to that before we go on with other questions. So someone asked that they're
I can't hear you.
I can't hear you either.
can you guys hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Person said, out of all languages for mobile development, why was it Flutter you chose? Like, why was it Flutter that tickled your fancy?
The truth is, when it comes to Flutter, it was just a decision of like the moment. I finished service last year, and then I joined a company. It was just a friend's company. He works there. It's a small, very small startup. So after service, I was like, instead of going home, let me just go stay with my friend for a while in Port Harcourt. So I joined him, and then the day they were having like that day they were having like a board meeting. It was sometime in October, first week of October also, and they were talking about building this app. They were brainstorming on ideas of what to build on next. So they now brought up an idea of building an app, a fashion store or something, and they had to start brainstorming what technology would they use to build it. So basically, they are good with Laravel, and then the other guy is good with iOS. The other one is good. So it was kind of going to be hectic for them if they are going to build on like all these different individual languages and then try to push it out. So that was why they started considering React or Flutter. And I was there and I obviously didn't know anything. I didn't know jack about Flutter or all these things before that time. I was actually writing JavaScript as of then. So they were like, let's research about Flutter. Cynthia, you're the research person. Research, let's see between Flutter and React, what should we go with? So I went back home that day, I did the research and I came back and I was like, I'm not really sure why, but I feel Flutter is something that we should go with. And well, the boss, he trusted my judgment. I was like, sure, why not? And that was it. So it's just something I found interesting. Like I went through their docs. I went through videos on YouTube, and I saw really beautiful things people were creating using Flutter. So I was like, why not? It's cool. It's a new technology. It's just being accepted. So and it solves most of the problem. And I mean, it's open source. So if it doesn't work, you can always find a way to fix it on your own and make things work on your own end. So that was it. That was why I chose Flutter. Uh, hello.
Are you saying anything, Debo? Okay, I think he's having issues again. I guess I'll just pick up. There's
Okay.
another question. I'm trying to figure that out. Okay, the question says, why do you prefer technical writing to actual coding?
Um, Basically, writing is like my superpower. It's something I can do even in my dreams. It's something I can do even in my sleep. So I feel I do better at that. So why not? When I write articles, it gives me so much joy and happiness that coding doesn't really give me. You get? I write articles and then someone reaches out to me. I'm like, hey, Cynthia, I read your article about this and it made sense. I've been finding a way to understand this thing. Like, you know, those kind of random mails you just get or a random checking on Twitter. And then someone is like, hey, Cynthia, I read this article you wrote on educative.io or Hashnode. And I feel like it's really cool. I now understand the concept. Thank you very much. Or someone says, hey, Cynthia, can you teach me how to write? Like, those things are like the best moment I ever get. Unlike when my code works and then my boss like, yeah, Cynthia, you did a good job here. Yeah, I'm happy, but I can't even compare the excitement I feel
Can you guys hear me now?
to when I actually write. So that yes, we can hear you now.
Oh, all right, great. So, technical writing kind of comes in you, which is why you love it to coding. So, yeah, so
Exactly.
that's
Yep.
actually very interesting, and and I think there are no other questions. So I would like to really like thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your experience with us, and really entertain also from um chatting with you. So thank you very much, Cynthia.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
talking about rejections, I think since we had two people talk about their rejections with internships like Outreachy, Google Season of Bucks, Google Summer of Code, it's might probably be nice for me to share my experience with these internships as well. So yeah, I've been rejected at Google Summer of Code twice for 2 years consecutively. Last year,
Oh,
last year I applied for Google Summer of Code at Mozilla. I got rejected. And I didn't really put in a lot of effort into the application. I applied late, so it wasn't really super painful for me. So this year, I applied for Google Summer of Code at Wikimedia Foundation, and I put in a lot into the application. Like it was the way they structured, they created like a forum for their interns, so you could actually see the works of other interns, other aspiring interns, and it was kind of like more of like competition because the mentors were like giving tasks for the pre-internship season. So they're like giving tasks to interns and you could literally see the solution of other interns for the task. So it was like very competitive and I really put in like a lot of effort, sleepless nights coding, learning a lot of things, getting familiar with their code base. They use entirely different tools. They don't use Git and GitHub. Their tools are kind of weird. So having to learn that and all of that. And eventually getting rejected. God, it was super painful. I almost cried. But eventually, one thing I realized was it's actually shaped me and helped me better prepare for future internships. Because if I had gotten into GSOC, I eventually got into Google Season of Docs. That's GSOC at Wikimedia Foundation. And in fact, Google Season of Docs was even more competitive than Google Summer of Code. But because of the experience I had gathered applying to GSOC twice, I was able to leverage on that experience and craft a better application for Google Season of Docs. So let me just share some little feedback. One thing I realized the second application for Google Summer of Code was I asked the mentor why I was rejected so I could better prepare for future internships. And he couldn't give me any specific reason. And I was like, I hacked again. So it was like he's going to check his notes and get back to me, but he never got back to me. So the other guy that got him was an Indian guy, and I kind of like had created a good relationship with him. So I chatted him up, and I was like, oh, "Why did you think he got accepted?" And he was like, "Nothing really. That there was nothing special. That when he was like having a discussion with the mentor, that the mentor said he had like a hard time picking between me and the guy, and the only reason he chose the other guy was he was better at communication." So things as little as communicating in when applying for jobs or when running these internships really go a long way. So just something as little as communication. That was why the mentor couldn't really give me any specific feedback because he couldn't like pinpoint anything that was wrong with my application, except for that the other person was better at communication, which was why he picked him. So stuff like that really like helped me craft a better application for Google Season of Docs. I crafted a quick proposal, which I had learned to do for Google Summer of Code. I made sure communication was top notch with mentors. I made sure I got feedback from them as much as I could and effected those feedback on my proposals and stuff like that. So yeah, rejections really help you further prepare for future applications and they can help you shape your future applications. So I might have been rejected for Google Summer of Code twice, but yeah, at least those two rejections earned me a spot at Google Season of Docs due to the experience I had gathered from them. And I think if I'll probably apply for Google Summer of Code next year and Google Season of Docs, there's a whole lot of things I'm going to do differently. And from the experience I had gathered in the past, I don't know, but the probability that I don't get in, chances that I don't get in will be very slim. So yeah, it all boils down to how you're able to handle rejections, how you're able to take rejections, and how you're able to learn from your rejections and pressing on to actually improve yourself and look for what you could have done better and just use that to shape your future applications. So yeah, that's just me sharing a bit of my experience about rejections. And I'd like to ask if anybody has any question for any of these people who are still on the, or if you just have any questions at all, you could ask the question, just leave a comment in the chat section. So if you have a question, now is the right time to shoot. And in 60 seconds, if no one asks a question, I'm going to assume. Oh yeah. So Abib, someone said you should share your experience on rejections.
Okay. So the thing is, I've had a couple of rejections. I found it very difficult getting my first internship as well. That was like last year, and most of these internships were in Lagos. So I'll do things like I'll take a list of all the companies I wanted to apply to. I'll send emails to all of them, regardless of the fact that most of them do not check their emails. And I would also take their phone numbers and I would call them to also talk to them. So I'd get to speak to lots of HRs, and from the call, I would be able to tell if there's a chance or not. So I don't have to put in lots of emotions into it. While there are others where where you get to think you would probably get the role, and then they send a rejection email. And most times it's not an indication of you not being good enough. Sometimes it's a case of perhaps culture fit, or the company doesn't even have money to pay you, and then they just don't want to be bad people, and they just tell you, sorry, you cannot take it now. They can't actually tell you they don't have money to pay you. So it's not every time that it's always you being not good enough. For the GSOC rejection, I always wanted to get into GSOC, and I started applying. I started working towards this from December. So I think GSOC's letters came in around June. My target orgs were Wikimedia and CDLI, the Cuneiform Digital Library Initiative. So I put in more efforts into CDLI. I was basically writing code, and I was enjoying it because it was giving me experience with this new field that I was quite interested in. And I had lots of calls with the mentor, and I basically disappeared at some point. Not because I wanted to disappear, but because the project I was going to work on needed PHP experience, and I had Python experience. And this was just about a month to the end of applications, only for me to return about a week left. I already learned PHP, and I was ready to get immersed in the project. And that particular day, I was waiting for the email. Like, I kept refreshing my mailbox, and I saw the rejection email. I couldn't even believe my eyes, to be honest. And it was just, how did I put in this much effort? Like, what could I have done differently? Then I messaged and then she was like, yes, I know it was a very hard decision. You were the more experienced candidates, but it was not a choice alone. So they had to make the choice with others. So I think the person they picked was doing PHP for a longer period. So they felt they needed someone who could just get started. Since I was just learning PHP, perhaps I would not be able to get up and running as quickly as that guy did. It took me quite a while to get over this, about 2 weeks to be honest. And because I had planned my entire year around this, although I was already on a contract gig with the Wikimedia Foundation, but I just had planned my year around GSOC. Everything else was secondary at that point. In fact, I left an internship to prepare for this. Show you how much effort I put into it. But I say thankfully I was rejected, because just about the third week I got another role, and everything has been pretty fine since then. I've applied most of the roles I've applied to about 2-3 roles, and I've been accepted for all of them, like 100% acceptance ratio at the moment. So I expect that there'll be much more rejections if I get to apply some more, but I think that has been my story, like in the last 1 year. Yeah, that's it.
More. That was having crazy, like 2 weeks over the rejection. But well, thanks for sharing your experience anyway. I think it was really nice getting to hear all of that. I think my worst rejection experience was when I applied at Creative Commons. It was not even a programming role, it was a community management role. We were looking for an open source community manager, and I've been pretty much involved in communities for a while, so I applied. And why it was really painful was because, if you apply at the first phase and you get rejected, that's different. But the application process spanned over 2 months, and I had made it through 4 application phases. So the first phase, or each of those phases were tedious. The first phase was the application and CV review phase. I made it past that phase. They invited me for a written or a research intensive phase where they gave me a research topic. They gave some questions, and you had to go and do intensive research and come up with comprehensive answers to this section. So it was like pretty much like preparing for an exam and having to go back and do a lot of research, do a lot of reading about their community and everything. And I had to do all of that. So I had to do all of that, and I eventually made it past the second phase. After I made it past the second phase, I got on an interview. They invited me for an interview with 2 of their software engineers. the interview too was another tedious process, having to prepare and all of that. I made it through that interview. Then I had another interview with their lead technical engineer, and that was like the last phase of the application process. So in my mind, I was like, I'd gotten this thing already. Like there's no two ways about it. Having made it through all, God, when I saw the rejection email, like for like 1 month, I was down. Seriously, for like 1 month, I didn't have. It's like it's literally affected me because I really wanted to work with them, and they were doing something I was genuinely interested in, and kind of like I've always like wanted to work in the open source space and all of that. So it was really crazy having to go through 4 different application phases for 2 months straight, then getting rejected. But yeah, that's basically it for me. So in I'm trying to check if there's any other question. Okay, I have a question. It's quite hard to imagine what kind of communication is required being a programmer. Ramon, about communication. So communication is actually very much more important. In fact, communication can be as important as your technical skill itself when applying for an internship. And the reason why communication is important, look at my scenario now, where the mentor was actually finding it difficult to pick between me and the other guy because we had similar um, because during the during the application process, um, the task we worked on, we both performed extremely well, and we had a similar technical skill set. And in terms of qualifications, we were quite similar. So it was like finding it very difficult to pick between me or him. So definitely, he wanted someone he would find it easier to relate to, someone you find it easier to relate that because he had better communication skill. Now, communication come in different ways. Communication in terms of always being thoughtful during the application process. So communication could mean you always asking the right questions. Communication could mean you always requesting for feedback. Communication could mean you being able to receive feedback properly. So when you probably write a proposal and you share it with your mentor to review the proposal, and the mentor makes a few corrections, it's left to you to not take those corrections to heart, even though there are things you don't want to change, and see things from the perspective of the mentor and try to update the proposal into exactly what the mentor wants. And communication could also mean establishing a personal relationship with the mentor. See, later I was still on the channel where the guy that got into GSOC and the mentor used to communicate. The guy and the mentor used to talk about the mentor exercise routine, how they talk about his vacations, and he's like, okay, you should probably go on a vacation to this particular place. I think it would be really nice. The mentor would be like, oh no, I don't think I want to climb hills and mountains and stuff like that. So they kind of had aside GSOC, they kind of like had established a personal relationship with each other where the only thing they get to talk about is not just work. They get to talk about some of the personal things about the mentors and him going on vacation, his age, his birthday, how he wants to celebrate his birthday with his family and stuff like that. Of course, it's normal that not everyone wants to establish that kind of personal relationship with a mentor, but of course, having a personal relationship with someone gives you leverage unconsciously or subconsciously, whichever way. It's kind of like gives you leverage if you have like a good rapport with them. So communication could be in several ways. Just make sure in every way in which you're communicating with the mentor, you make it like very thoughtful, and you try to like be in touch constantly, and you try to like get feedback from the mentor to know if you're doing something wrong. So if you're constantly getting feedback from the mentor and and you know that, oh, this thing I'm doing it wrong, and the mentor informs you, you are the one that would, go back and rethink how you can improve on exactly what you are doing wrong. And in fact, it's not just communication with mentors, communication with fellow interns. When I was applying for Google Season of Docs, some of the things I did, you're applying for Season of Docs, I'm applying for Season of Docs. Directly or indirectly, we are competing for the same role because Wikimedia only takes in one Season of Docs intern per year. So we had about 10 people applying. So definitely we are all competing for just one spot, right? Which means it's not quite ideal for us to help each other. But yeah, I help other applicants when they have questions. I answer their questions on the forum. And that's like a form of communication because I'm saying it's more like, yeah, I know I know we both want this role, but that doesn't mean I can't be empathetic when necessary. So I can always help you out when you are stuck. It doesn't mean you eventually craft off a better application than I am, because even if I don't answer that question, the mentor will probably give a better answer to the question. So when I see people post questions on the community channel, I try to answer it even before the mentor answers it. So that kind of like sends a message to the mentor that, oh, this particular person likes helping people and is an empathetic person. So you get that kind of stuff. So it's communication in a way. That's also a form of communication and establishing good relationship with fellow interns and not treating them like competitors, but rather as friends. So yeah, good communication can come in different forms. It's just a matter of you knowing which way works best for the organization you're applying to and understanding the mentor for that particular project you're applying for. So I believe that answers your question. So in the absence of any other question, so in the absence of any other question, I think it's safe to say goodbye. So I would like to thank every one of you for joining the call. And I'd like to thank those that stayed to the end of the call. You guys are like the real MVPs. So thank you guys for joining the call. I believe it was really amazing getting to listen to the experiences of different people and getting to learn from their different experiences. So I believe, yeah, everybody has like one or two takeaways from this event, which is quite interesting. Personally, I've learned a lot from listening to different people, and yeah, it's been fun. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining the call, and you all should have a nice weekend. Bye, guys.
Bye.